So has Donald Trump changed the world, or at least his attention and rhetoric regarding Russian dictator Vladimir Putin? These and other topics we will discuss right now. My name is Irina Uzlova, and today with us is Yuri Rashkin, host of YouTube channel Rashkin Report and Rashkin Report in English. Yuri, hello, glad to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time and all your interesting thoughts. So thank you, told everybody on the NATO summit, and we saw how General Secretary of NATO, Mark Rutte, was very thankful to Donald Trump, and a lot of attention, good words, and other things. So Donald Trump was pleasant, and everybody was happy about this fact. The US presidential administration quickly picked up the nickname Daddy and began to actively use it. And I wasn't surprised about it. For example, the White House published a short video, as we see, about Trump's visit to the NATO summit in The Hague, accompanied by Usher's song Daddy's Home. This is a frank track in which the singer addresses his beloved, and Daddy is a role model for a man with no relation to paternal feelings. The video was shared on the official White House accounts on social networks, in particular on the X network, with the caption "Daddy is home." In addition, Donald Trump's team launched a merch, a t-shirt with the inscription "Daddy" and the image of the US president. Also, red t-shirts with the inscription "Daddy" and a portrait of Trump are available on the Republican fundraising portal, WinRed, for $35. So, Yuri, how do you think? What did that deal with? Iran, NATO, Russia, what big deals to call himself Daddy now?
So I know what to get Vladimir Putin for Christmas now. A t-shirt that says Daddy Trump. Look, we're watching a coronation of Donald Trump, of American president, as the king of NATO. And it's a little bizarre, and it's a little strange, and to a lot of people in this country, in the United States, what is happening with this really disrespectful treatment of the office of the President of the United States, just very kind of a classless, crass behavior that is shown by this administration. It doesn't, this is not what the country of America is, but it is some people, there are people like that here, and one of them was elected president. And so now we all have to deal with this, with his daddy issues. And it's a challenge because there's Ukraine. And Ukraine is a real part of the real problem, which is really called Russia. And the countries of NATO should not be surprised by this, because NATO was created to defend all of these countries against the Russian threat. And in this state of mind, to welcome President of the United States, who does not see Russia as a threat at all, kind of is confusing of what is the purpose of NATO then. But Trump did acknowledge he was pleased with how all of this turned out and how he was treated, and he understood that these people, they need protection. He can provide protection. Protection business is something that he knows very well. And without his protection, there will be terrible things happening to Europe. He got it. I think that he got that message very clear. Of course, with a president like this, when you see what happened between Iran and Israel in the last few days of the 12-day war, let's hopefully call it that, is that American president can decide how he's going to be involved or not involved, depending on how things look on Fox News. And I don't know where Fox News is written in the NATO constitution, an agreement, an alliance agreement, but maybe there should be something there about the attack on all has to be broadcast on Fox News and look in such a way so that American president would understand that he would look good if he decided to support the allies and stop a Russian threat. Maybe, but I think that it's a very unpredictable alliance at this point. That's what it tells me. And the turning away from Ukraine is unnerving and a really bad signal, because instead of welcoming and making President Zelensky kind of the centerpiece of this alliance's symbol of this alliance standing against Russian aggression, we see the opposite. And that's because Donald Trump is the king of NATO at the moment, or at least he sees himself such, because NATO did everything it could to make him feel this way, thinking that it will help. It will help because it is good to have United States in your corner, even if nominally, than not having them in your corner at all. But to expect that this United States is going to be a reliable partner, we in the United States can't expect our federal government to be reliable or partner at this point. So that's why should our allies or anybody else be out there any different, unless they can demonstrate strength. And in that case, I think Ukraine has just the focus on the damage that it is doing to Russia, to Russian economy. Frankly, claim some credit for Israel's success in Iran, because having taken all of the Russia's might away from Russia, which lost it and left it on the battlefield in Ukraine, made all of those other dictators feel naked and defenseless. I think showing strength and importance and impact of Ukraine is the direction that the conversation needs to go in now, because NATO has to understand Ukraine is its best defense against Russia right now, not the United States, because United States is unpredictable and Ukraine is already at war with Russia. And it's actually interesting to observe. There's a new article that came out detailing that Ukraine is now more involved in Africa, because there's all sorts of places that are fighting, Russia in Africa, and so they need some help. Ukraine is there to provide help, guidance, assistance, grain. It's great. So I think there's understanding of the global conflict that we're in and the important role that is played far beyond NATO, really. But to me, in the end, what NATO is about is alliance to stand against Russian danger and Russian threat. And if that NATO is called NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or if it's called something else that it includes somebody else, that's not the point. There's lessons about how to build an alliance. There's lessons about what can happen to an alliance, but then there's just a useful alliance, useful agreements that make sense for the situation where the country finds itself in, and there's ones that no longer make sense. And as far as for Mr. Rutte, the chair of NATO and, their leader, I guess I almost feel bad for him, because he had to take one for the team and grovel for everybody so that nobody else would look as bad as he did. But that's what you get for being in charge of an organization.
Concerning awareness of risks from Russia by our European allies following the NATO summit, it seems to me that our European allies understood all this risk really, and they have shown how they can and they want protect themselves and even give support and $1 billion money for us to protect Ukraine and both European borders of NATO.
I agree, because the numbers speak for themselves. The fact that NATO countries agreed to raise their defense spending to 5% within 10 years, and 3.5% supposedly being for weapons and 1.5% for infrastructure, is, of course, a victory for Donald Trump, because, he made them do it, he told them to do it, and by golly, now they're doing it. But it's also a failure of the United States to provide the guarantees that people expected it to provide, because the point of NATO is not for the United States to make money. Point of NATO is to stand against Russian threat. And 5% that is being raised and set as now a goal to which countries at least agree to strive towards is a sign that they understand that, as they say in Russian, rescuing of those drowning is the responsibility of those drowning. It may sound a little ruthless, but in Russian it kind of makes sense. because nobody is going to be as interested in defending you as you. And I think Ukraine understands this, and I think Israel understands this, and in certain level, it's a global understanding. So 5% is a sign that Europe understands it and gets it, and also I consider a good sign that Ukraine itself is becoming what some in media called the Wild West, in terms of being the front of frontier of war, of today's war. This is the battlefield where new technologies and new weapons are tested every day, not in laboratory settings, but in real life settings. And that makes Ukraine attractive for all sorts of foreign investment and those kinds of systems that really are, again, part of what Europe is going to need in order to protect itself against the Russian threat going forward. Ukraine plays a really crucial role here. I think it's just beautiful statements in accounting when we see different countries provide help to Ukraine and count it towards their payment towards their NATO investments, which of course it is.
Yuri, Putin came out to the press after the meeting of the Supreme Eurasian Economic Council in Minsk. It would have been better for him, of course, not to come out, but okay, let's analyze his statements. Putin told that Russia and the US have good prospects for economic cooperation. American business is signaling its desire to return to the Russian market. Putin added that thanks to Trump, relations between the US and Russia are beginning to level out. Trump sincerely seeks to resolve the situation on the Ukrainian track, believes Putin. I have great respect for the current US president, also added Russian dictator. And Putin didn't rule out meeting with Trump, but such talks must be well prepared. He mentioned also about potential meeting with Trump, about prospects of this summit. Can we say that Putin is flattering Trump more and more, maybe because of Iran also? And what is he trying to achieve now, how do you think? Wants to delay sanctions, for example, or what main goals of that awful speech?
Well, main goals are everything. But, I think the one difference between Iran and Russia is that in Iran, leader is afraid to come out in daylight. Because, you never know when Israel might be flying by, the Israeli plane. But Putin is not afraid. And that's an important sign, and not really a good sign, but it is a sign, is that I think a lot of people are confused. Why in the world are we interested in Russia at all in the United States? Is it a business opportunity? Is that a market we want? What's the point of this? People, I think, are frankly just mystified. And so we see that Donald Trump continuously talks about business projects and visions of doing something with Russia. And it seems real unclear of what we're even talking about. Like, what is this supposed to be other than the enrichment, more than likely, of the Trump family? So I think it's nice that Putin is putting some flesh on those bones so that we could see what exact fantasies are being sold to the American president. Because I'd like to acknowledge that a lot of companies left Russia not because they were legally required to do so by sanctions, but because they didn't want to have anything to do with the bloody regime in Russia with support, and they didn't want to be part of supporting a criminal war against Ukraine. So I don't know to what extent any of this really matters, unless we're not talking about consumer products, but we're talking about things like gas and oil and those kinds of natural resources that Russia, or like say North Korea or any dictatorship, they don't produce anything, they don't buy anything. People can walk around and whatever, but they'll have resources for the regime to keep people in check and to make rockets. I mean, one big North Korea. This is where this is like headed. Why would American business be a part of it unless it's maybe defense business or oil and, again, natural resource business? So this idea is kind of sounding pretty hollow to, I think, English speakers, because this is Putin, who we know not to trust because he kills people he doesn't like. So, who wants to do business with the Russians? Russians don't have a good reputation when it comes to doing business with them. It's common sense. So I don't know what they're expecting and what they're hoping for, other than to blow some more hot smoke that will hopefully come out orange at the top, up president's behind. And he is more than happy. I think that this takes us back to the constant desire by Donald Trump to meet with Putin. This is like some kind of a catfishing setup where, Putin is like, he's almost real, but in reality, he doesn't exist, and he's actually laying in a fridge for a long time. No, Putin probably is alive. Video, it couldn't be all duplicates and triplicates. Probably some of them is actual Putin. He probably wouldn't mind at some point meeting with Trump, but what is he going to offer Trump? And that takes us back to this business nonsense. I think that they're trying to work something out. This is the amazing desire for the art of the deal that this president loves, worships the idea of the deal, even though he can't follow deals, and he's constantly sued for not following his own deals that he's made, and then he wants to destroy his own old deals and rename him with his new signature on him. So he's got a very strange understanding of what a deal is and how it's supposed to work. But in that sense, he's no different than his, guru, Putin, who does also want to make everything nice and legal and then do whatever he wants. So not follow those agreements. This is, this is the president we're dealing with, and imagining that he's going to change his spot seems unrealistic. I don't know, Irina. I think that this president is going to be looking for ways to improve situation with Russia, Russia and the United States. This is a train we're on, and we're just seeing how they're trying to play out this setup game that, in a way, could have been planned months ago, that is now being gradually executed, where this forum, Putin's, goes a little bit further and a little bit further. But ultimately, they want to get rid of all sanctions. They want to get all their money back that was frozen in foreign assets. They want Russia to be like it was before, like Ukraine never even happened. And it's not going to work like this, because this vision of the world that Trump wants to drag everybody in, and Putin does as well, and the vision of the world that they want to see on their televisions, whether it's Russian 60 Minutes or Fox News, is not reality. Reality is what happens when Russia invades Ukraine. So I think that this is where we have, two people who are trying to create their own vision. And it's nice that they're flushing it out for us, because we'd like to see the Potemkin village that is being built here for the United States, of what is it that we're going to gain from dealing with Russia. Oh, my goodness. But beyond that, it's a pretty useless exercise.
Yes, maybe they want to return a lot of their details and paths of rich previous life, but we know and understand, Yuri, that in real life few things repeat themselves and things are as before. So they can dream.
Indeed, and this is kind of a big problem for when you want to say "Make America Great Again." You're exactly right. Making things same as before is somewhere between hard and impossible, and it's a kind of even a strange way to look at things, to be honest. But nonetheless, here we are.
And Trump believes that he can make Iran great again. And even today, he told that Iran can give to the US all their nuclear facilities. And Trump really believes that Iran will be sincere with him.
Donald Trump has a serious thing with this deal, making a deal. It's very important to him because first he seems to want to destroy the deal that existed before and then try to recreate it, but with his name on it. We've seen this with NAFTA, where he destroyed North American Free Trade Agreement and rewrote it with his own signature and with his own name. Can't remember what it is now, don't really care. But this idea works differently when you're dealing with Canada and Mexico versus when you're dealing with Iran. And Canada and Mexico that need the deal just said, you know what, whatever. We want to rewrite this, update this, call it the great art of Trump. Sure. We need to do business. Life needs to go on. And so they addressed the problem, fixed it. Iran has a different situation because if they lose their nuclear, ambitions, then that basically leaves their regime with butt naked and defenseless, because in that kind of a dynamic, nuclear weapons is not some kind of a fancy thing that you want to do, like, I don't know, Elon Musk and his flight to the Mars. Like you have to say no to your space program because flying to Mars is not for you. Okay, but this is something that regime clearly sees as part of its survival. And so for them to surrender their ambitions, even for the following regime or whoever is going to be in charge of Iran, is not a guarantee, and it's definitely not, it doesn't have to be easy. And so while Trump is interested in a deal and he says you can either come to it diplomatically or I will beat it out of you, he's still stopped halfway from getting it done. In part, there's a good argument that perhaps it was something that was preferred by Kremlin policymakers because Iran is such a valuable asset for Russia. And clearly we know that Donald Trump wants to have good relations with Putin. Then, it makes sense to kind of preserve the regime in Iran and let them survive. But it doesn't show strength of the United States. It shows United States as trying to, win the day today, and who cares about what's going to be happening tomorrow. It's a lot of vulnerabilities that it leaves us with. Every country in this conflict seemingly can claim victory. It's amazing. Israel can say that they were victorious, and they were. The United States can say that we were victorious, and we have been, because we got in and out, and Donald Trump yelled at everybody, and now we have peace today. And Iran can claim victory because their regime is still in power, they're still there, and nuclear ambitions remain. If they agree, if they deny and don't go to the negotiation table, then they become more of a pariah state than they are now. And, it'll be hard, but pretty much. And who are they going to be dealing with? Russia and China. So they're going to be like another North Korea there. So this is a good thing for Putin, kind of works for him as well. So this is a situation that's very difficult to see how it can continue to be, remain peaceful, because right now it's being held together by the screaming president. Who knew that the United States had this secret weapon of screaming president? A president that can yell or scream at different countries, and then they stop fighting each other. We could have used this before. And we'll see if it works every day, because I don't know if Donald Trump can yell at everybody every morning and just to remind them that he's watching like Santa Claus with claws. We'll see. It's a very strange world that we're in, and maybe that's how we should have been doing this all along, right? I mean, I'm joking, but there's going to be consequences for this kind of inconsistent behavior, and I think it's just a reminder to those that think that the United States can be a garant, a warranty for safety, the guarantee of security. You know how we used to kind of bring that topic up with Ukraine and the United States? I think we kind of passed that. I think expecting the United States to be the guarantor of anything except chaos and instability is unrealistic.
Yes, because Trump is glad that he signed a deal with China, tariff deal, but a lot of Ukrainian political strategists think that war is inevitable, even maybe this autumn, despite these deals.
War between who and who?
USA and China.
I don't see that anywhere near on being on the table. Things can change, But at this point, I think I'd be far more worried if I was Taiwan, because I think Taiwan is in a more direct threat here, because we are showing that the United States is an unpredictable partner, not somebody can be relied on. And Taiwan desperately depends on the United States. Now, that means that this is opportunity for Trump, and he will negotiate a great deal for himself for this defense arrangement that Taiwan clearly needs. But it's still, it seems like it keeps China more in that sphere of interest. And I think that China has shown far more common sense than doing something like, trying to invade the United States. The United States is also weakening, as is China. So I think we're watching a kind of a changing of the guard in certain sense, where Israel is at the moment is stronger than maybe it's ever been, and its neighbors are as weak as they've ever been. And China, which may be cresting economically, and there's a lot of questions about their abilities economically going forward, and especially in this trade war with United States, which is difficult for China, as it is for United States consumers, who expect everything that's made in China to be here forever inexpensively. And ultimately, the trust is what's being destroyed, because when we announced this administration that they reached some kind of a trade deal with any country, whether it's China or India or United Kingdom, we know that it's probably a frame agreement that says some general terms that doesn't have any specifics, because those things take a lot of time to hammer out. And when we were promised 90 deals in 90 days, this was clearly a statement that was doomed to fail. And so now they're trying to figure out how to make it look better, because this is it's terrible. If this economy in the United States has a lot of problems, because Biden, is terrible, but it's over. Biden's gone. We're now in a Trump economy, and if this economy, because of his desire to have a trade war and then whatever he's doing it for with all of these, pretty much every democratic country in the world, except for Russia somehow, which of course only promotes developing business relations, doesn't it? Just naturally fits there somehow. That president is taking a lot of responsibility from the voters. Of course, Donald Trump is not looking to run again, so he can do whatever he wants. And we are watching him do that.
We know that everybody of them dreams about such meeting, I mean Trump and Putin, but do you believe in a quick meeting between American president and Russian dictator?
It depends if we're discussing how much time they're going to spend together, or if they're going to get together soon. I think that I don't know how long they're going to spend time together. However long it takes for Putin to tell Trump the whole story of the Russian Empire, from big creation of the earth until Putin today, and how all of that. I mean, it can take a while. But if we're talking about, are they going to meet soon? It depends on whether Putin has something to say to Trump, because if there's nothing to say and there's no deals to sign, we know how much Donald Trump likes a deal, which he can call a good deal, the best deal ever, but there has to be a deal. So where are the deals? What's going on here? And how is Donald Trump planning on getting United States people in the United States to swallow this? Because I think his good relations with Russia and with Putin is one of the hardest things for Americans to swallow. We can talk about, I think that although everyone is different and some people are mostly bothered, I mean, there's just a gamut of issues that people have with Donald Trump and the policies of his administration. I went to a protest in Milwaukee where, several weeks ago at this point, for 14th of June, where everybody was with a different sign, because everybody has a different problem. And some people were actually holding Ukrainian flags. But this is a situation where Donald Trump is going to be pushing his line of thinking at us. And at the same time, he's also attacking the remaining free media in the United States, because the attacks that came from Trump at NATO meeting were not at the members of NATO countries or anything like that. We know his harshest words were saved for media that told the world that his bombing of Iran, perhaps, most likely, quite likely, wasn't as successful or, well, as perfect as he and his Secretary of Defense and others in his administration claim. And it's pretty obvious just listening to them that they're trying to avoid saying things that, are perfect, except for Secretary Hegseth, where people are trying to find a way to kind of relay the information. Nobody can say for sure, because ultimately, if this would be a successful policy if it had a long-term vision, because we need inspections in Iran. But then so would, lack of long-term vision is what doomed Trump businesses, because, this living for today and who cares about tomorrow, it is kind of this Russian form of Buddhism, where you just kind of enjoy the day-to-day, steal today what you can, grab today, because who knows what's going to be happening tomorrow. Tomorrow, well, in the United States, there could be elections.
Maybe, really, but I thought that swallow this process is more characteristic of Russia nowadays, so it's the ideals. We believe. And that Putin's regime will destroy on the nearest future. Yuri, thank you very much. Thank you for your opinion, for this conversation, and for all your position. See you next week, and see you now in another language tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you, and thank you to our viewers and listeners who continue to care and pay attention, even in the middle of summer, when there's so many other exciting things that are happening. Thank you for caring, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroyam Slava, thank you, and thanks for really for all our viewers. Please subscribe to YouTube channel Rashkin Report and Rashkin Report in English, and our YouTube channel War and Politics 24. It will be a very pleasure for us, and take care.